Is marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Christ the royal master leads against the foe. Forward into battle, see his banners go. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Oh, for a faith that will not shrink, though pressed by every foe, that will not tremble on the brink of any earthly woe, that will not murmur or complain beneath a chastening rod, but in the hour of grief or pain will lean upon its God. A faith that shines more bright and clear when tempests rage without, that when in danger knows no fear, in darkness feels no doubt. Lord, give us such a faith as this, and then whate'er may come, we'll taste and hear the hallowed bliss of an eternal home. A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save, and fit it for the sky, to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Oh, may it all my powers engage to do my Master's will. Arm me with jealous care, as in thy sight to live, and O thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give. Help me to watch and pray, and on thyself rely, assured if I my trust betray, I shall forever die. Rise up, O men of God, have done with lesser things, give heart and mind and soul and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O men of God, his kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and end the night of wrong. Rise up, O men of God, the church for you doth wait, her strength unequal to her task. Rise up and make her great. Lift high the cross of Christ, tread where his feet have trod, as brothers of the Son of Man, rise up, O men of God. Let's edify. Hey, good evening. Good evening. It's me again. It's me again, Margaret. What a day. How's Teresa? How's Sean? And where's CJ? O'Shea, you need to be tagging. He may not have gotten to that phone yet to do the tagging. He might be doing the tagging. I don't know. O'Shea? How are y'all doing tonight? Let's see here. I was going to lead off with each step I take. Huh?
Take forever.
True that. You do have a question? Is it like a question I've received? Type it out, sister. I'll look at it. We'll talk about it. While you're doing that, hello, Debbie. How you doing? Long time no see. Each step I take, my Savior goes before me, and with his loving hand he leads the way. And with each breath I whisper, I adore thee. Oh, what joy to walk with him each day. Each step I take, I know that he will guide me to higher ground. He ever leads me on, until someday the last step will be taken. Each step I take just leads me closer home. At times I feel my faith begin to waver, when up ahead I see a chasm wide. It's then I turn and look up to my Savior. I am strong when he is by my side. Each step I take, I know that he will guide me to higher ground. He ever leads me on, until someday the last step will be taken. Each step I take just leads me closer home. I trust in God, no matter come what may, for life eternal is in his hand. And he holds the key that opens up the way that will lead me to the promised land. Each step I take, I know that he will guide me to higher ground. He ever leads me on, until someday the last step will be taken. Each step I take just leads me closer home. That was song number 129 in the blues, Teresa, which is where I'm at. Sorry, CJ. Not your blue, my blue. Praise for the Lord. And Debbie has it right. Each step I take. Beautiful song. Hello, Craig. Good to have you with us. How about this one? This kind of goes along with the idea of I walk with the King, and it goes along with the idea of each step I take. Right across the page from 129 is number 130. Imagine that! Woohoo! Right, CJ? Come on. Smile, my friend. Smile, my buddy. He's busy typing, and he's looking to see if he can find each step of the way. And he's going to strike out because of my normal streak. Right? Of course, right. I don't know yet. Each step of the way. So, for those of you who have Praise for the Lord and have number 130, you can turn there. Otherwise, CJ's looking to see if he has it in his online hymnal that he has. Marshall Dillon. Does that make me fastest? CJ, would you have the correct spelling of the church in Michigan where Paul Mays is going to be preaching this weekend? Boo! CJ's like, what just happened? Hello, Heather. Actually, he froze, and then the next thing I know, he was sitting back. Hello.
Carol Church of Christ.
Yes, but do you have that spelling?
C-A-R-O. Carol.
You sure it's not C-A-I-R-O? Cairo?
Nope. Carol.
Can you, CJ, can you, by the way, look that up and link it to like Google Maps? Do a link to that church.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Give him a little bit of time, Craig. He'll have it for you.
Each step I take, right?
No. Yeah, each step of the way. We already did saying each step I take.
Nope.
I struck out again.
Yes, you did.
Marshall wants us all to go to Walmart. I smell trouble.
I gotta tell you guys that I just dealt with the biggest time away. So there's this group called Church of Christ Facebook, and it's not the church. And I've been talking with this guy for like, I don't know, an hour, and he's just one of those. He can't call me a Protestant, but I say I'm a Protestant, and I would say prove it, and he would say you're Protestant, and I would say prove it. You're Protestant. Wait a minute. What? If you say you're
you know what a Protestant is, right?
It's a flavor of Christianity, right?
No, not necessarily. Protestant is the name that is labeled or given to everyone who protests against the Catholic Church.
Oh, well.
So the Catholic Church in history, the Catholic Church, you know, it as you define as you look through church history, what you see is about the area of the 300, 320 area, 380, somewhere in that neck of the wood, maybe a little bit earlier than that. You see the church starting to digress. There's a definite division, and the bulk or majority of those that fell away in this falling away went after the what became known as the Catholic Church, and the word Catholic means universal, by the way. But they went after that particular uh, doctrine and teaching, and it became the subsuming, the majority of those that were known as Christians, to the point of where it even converted an emperor, Constantine of the Roman Empire. Uh, and we have the eventual setting up of the papacy, and their coming to their rise of power to the point of where they overshadowed everything for almost 500 years. So, what you have then is about the 1500 area, you have people starting to protest against them. And this you have from people from John Huss, John Zwingli, not John Zwingli, Zwingli. You have Martin Luther. You have others that were known as the Anabaptists, and and it keeps going and going. And anyone that was against what the Catholic Church was doing was labeled as Protestants or protesters. And so that's how that's what it is, and somebody labeling you as a Protestant is in one way true, because we are protesting what they do because it's not got a basis in Scripture, or it has a tiny basis in Scripture but is not the doctrine of Christ. And yet what we do as a church, what we teach, what we preach, has to come from the Bible and only the Bible, and it predates the Catholic Church.
Right. By the way, I don't think your compliment said, "Hey, we're going live. Come join us."
And Sean, I've been answering. I answered last week one of your questions, or was it Monday? Anyway, I never mentioned who it was that said it, but I did actually answer one question. I'm not going to tell you which one because you need to go look at it. Encouragement. Craig says it's 3 hours and 40 minutes from where he is in Google.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
You were looking up Caro.
Caro.
Reba says a couple on there have been at it a long time. CJ, no use arguing with them. Friend of mine, Debbie says, met this guy. He was really interested in her, but she says, well, he claims he can heal folks. I told her he would have to be an eyeball witness to be apostle and at least 2,000 years old. Eyeball witness to the Lord's ascension. All right. Each step of the way, number 130 is the song I'm going to be singing.
He was the... Oh, wait. That's just Caro. I need to find a church. Can I just type in Caro Church of Christ?
Yes. 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 Teresa says us sisters can have fun shopping. Hello again, Darlene. And after I deal with Sister Teresa's question, Sean, I have your second question up here that you first sent me, ready to go. So,
Are we gonna answer them together, or you're gonna send me back to my?
Back to the cave.
Oh no! Don't do that.
Well, yeah, our dual streams on Sunday night.
There you go. I think maybe.
Hopefully, kind of, sort of, maybe.
Why is that such a long link?
I don't know.
Hopefully it works.
He does have a cave. It's a CJ cave.
Yeah.
He live streams from it there quite often.
Yep.
It's got a pretty sunrise background, and
I know. Uh,
uh, that one didn't melt, bud. Thank you. My whatchamacallits have arrived. All right. What are you doing? It's good to have questions. It's good to have questions, and if they're easy, simple answers, I'll be able to do more than one in a night. And don't apologize, because what defense is there for having questions? We should have questions. Craig says it's freezing up for him again tonight. And we're gonna let Teresa have the first go at it, first question, and then we'll jump into yours. Na 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 na. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Na 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 CJ. Na 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 CJ.
yep.
To the CJ cave.
Wow. Cliches.
What what brain? Sean, Debbie says that Sean should pick my brain. Why? Does he have a row of them on the shelf that we get to choose from?
Do you have one, Levi?
That's what I'm asking about. Teresa is glad she only has one brain.
I didn't know that I had a brain.
If I only had a brain.
Okay, well, I will.
Ezra, O'Shea, it's the one that's the newest account, the one with him with the mustache. I walk with the Savior each step of the way. I trust him to guide me by night and by day, not dreading tomorrow nor what it may bring. I'm safe in the keeping of Jesus the King. That is. All right, verse 2. With joy we shall enter the city up there of wonderful beauty and mansions all fair. His own shall be changed and made like him that day, because we've walked with him each step of the way. Each step of the way, by night and by day, leads nearer the home eternally fair, where we shall meet loved ones awaiting us there, who walked here with Jesus each step of the way. Sean, not if you have a whole row of them sitting on the shelf. You can choose from whichever one you like. All right. Let me put that one over there for the moment. Teresa asked us, back up here, it's regarding Proverbs 29, verse 6. And I'm looking to see what her question is regarding 29, verse 6, which states, "In the transgression of an evil man there is a snare, but the righteous doth sing and rejoice." Deep thoughts there. What's the principle to be found in 29, verse 6? Our evil ways, the sin of an evil man, is a snare unto him. Oh, Shea, thank you very much. Shea says he wouldn't call it a brain. It's more like a mine pit. Anyway, in the transgression of an evil man, there is a snare. Sin is a snare. Sin is a trap. And that's what the word snare means, is a trap. And in sin, there is traps. An evil man is always ensnared in it. And we can look at that in a multitude of ways in our own life. When we were burdened with sin, was there any way for us to escape the sin before Jesus came and died on the cross? That's not 29, verse 6. Which one is that one? That was in 20. I think, wasn't it? Pretty sure I read that this morning in something. Oh, Job 29, verse 6. Okay. That makes more sense. When I washed my steps with butter and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. What would that mean? When the Almighty was with me, when my children were about me, when I washed my... He had plenty. Butter was so plentiful, he could wash his steps in it. Rock poured out rivers of oil. In other words, he was blessed. God blessed him so richly that what we would be saying is every step he took was pure gold. But he had plenty. Rocks poured out rivers of oil. We have a phrase in our language where a person could do no wrong. And I'm trying to remember the actual phrase that I'm looking for, but there's a saying that goes with that, and it's almost like what you hear in Simon and Garfunkel's song when it says that she had diamond on the soles of her feet. Every step that he took was like, even when he fell down, he landed in gold. You should always get context no matter what, because of that. So, when you're going to go and you look at a verse, check the context of a verse. before you try to say is single out one verse. And what we have here, 29 verse 5 through 7, is the sentence. When the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil, when I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street. Well, what are we talking about, Job? He says, "Oh, that I were as in the months past, as in the days when God preserved me." These are the days that he used to have. These are the days that used to happen, that used to be with him, that he used to enjoy. God preserved me in these days when his candle shined upon my head, when I walked by his light through the darkness. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle. In other words, what you're looking at is, the glory of hair. When he had hair. Oh, Greg's on my page. I've not seen any more comment from him since he said it was cutting out. So, all right. So, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret was, he's talking about hair. As I was in the days of my youth, when I had hair, when the Almighty was yet with me, when one of my children were about me, when when I was strong and young, and I had children. When I washed my steps with butter, would be comparable to the gals that used to take baths in buttermilk for their complexion. The rock poured me out rivers of oil. I could do no wrong. I mean, everything I did, everything I turned my hand to prospered. He had the Midas touch, if you will. When I went out through the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, he was known. Look at how he was known in verses 8 and following. Young men saw me, they hid themselves. Here was a guy that was so well known that the young men ran, got out of his way, left the area. Right, he had an abundant life. As CJ says, the princes refrained. Look at that. The aged men arose and stood up. They gave deference to him. They got up out of their place so he could sit down. He was that well known. His counsel was that well sought after. Princes refrained from talking and laid their hand on their mouth. They shut themselves up so they could listen to his words. The nobles held their peace. Their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. They literally were scared of him, as it were. He had that much authority. Brings to mind someone who was a judge, and yet who was righteous. When the ear heard me, it blessed me. When the eye saw me, it gave witness. Hey, look. And we see, Job was a celebrity in the right way. That's what he's talking about. He had an abundant life. God had blessed him. He was well known. He was a celebrity. He was wise and sought after. So what you're asking for in verse 6, when I washed my steps with water and the rock poured me out rivers of oil, he had a very abundant life. He was rich, and it wasn't just rich in the goods of this world, but he acknowledges that it all came from God, because this happened when God was with him, as you saw in verses 2 and there's verse 5 as well. 2 through 5 tells us that he's acknowledging this is when God was with him, that when this was happening to him. Does that help? CJ says, "Yep." All right. Of course, I was talking to you. You're an audience, aren't you? You're an audience of one. One Marshall. You better be listening. There's a new sheriff in town. Oh, okay. So Teresa got me, and thank you, all of us. So yes. All right. Okay. So uh, deep in thought, and that's scary because it's a deep subject for such a shallow mind as mine. All right. I'm trying to get to a part of the answer that I'm. What beard? um, I'm checking for something. Okay. All right. Non biblical question. CJ, Darlene says just let it keep growing. It's getting there. What's your non biblical question, Debbie, as I get this prepared? Because I've got this one ready for Sean, or just about. Does CJ know who Marshall Dillon is? Nope. He's never watched Gunsmoke. All right. Let's see. One last verse that I need to bring up. No, I'm eating what we call around here whatchamacallits. Hmm. He will now. Whatchamacallits are very easy to make if you like cheese and if you like tortillas. Take a tortilla, put some shredded cheese on it, fold it over. Usually, what I do is I heat the tortilla first. As in I put it on the burner, flip it over a couple of times, get it nice and toasty, put some cheese on it, flip it and fold it in half, and then continue to flip it a couple more times until the cheese melts, and there you have a whatchamacallit. Ta-da! No, there's no sauce on it. If I could figure out what sauce they put on quesadillas, I might do that. I do not mean a cheese quesadilla. Cheese and quesadillas require a special sauce. And I know what quesadillas are because I love them, and I get them when I go to Taco Bell. You quiero Taco Bell. All right, let's get into the question then. The question is, ready to be read. Does the Bible say anything about what age a child must be before they are considered to be a man or a woman? I know David was a boy, yet God called him a man after I have found after my heart. Well, there is a candy bar called a whatchamacallit. Yes. But this is very obviously not a candy bar. Nor is it a who's a watch it, which we have as well, which is simply the same. You do the same thing with the tortilla, but instead of cheese, you put a little bit of real butter in there. Butter it so it melts, fold it over, and then eat it. Who's a mawetchits? The The question is a very good one, and it doesn't have a very clear, definite answer. However, what we do know is this. We're going to start with David, actually. Let's start with David. In 1 Samuel 17, verse 42, or 1 Samuel 17, David is sent by his father to inquire as to the welfare of his oldest brothers who had gone to war. David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. Notice that's an Ephrathite, not an Ephraimite. Ephrathite. Whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. That's Jesse has 8 sons. The man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. So this was an old man in the days of Saul, named Jesse. He had 8 sons, the youngest being David. The 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. The names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, Abinadab, and Shammah. So David has returned from Saul. Why is David returned from Saul? How was he with Saul? Don't know? Hi, Sean. On Sylvia. On Sylvia's phone. Uh, David was with Saul because Saul needed somebody to play the harp for him. Do you remember that? Let me see if it's. Okay, so. Now we're going to jump in here for a minute. Jesse's made all of his sons to pass. Let me see if we're okay. Here we are. Verse 14. Spirit of the Lord, in chapter 1 Samuel 16:14, the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servant said unto him, Behold, now an evil spirit from God troubles you. Let our Lord now command your servants which are before you to seek out a man who is cunning player on an harp, and it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit of God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hands, and thou shalt be well. Okay. Now notice this word. Who are they to look out? A man who is cunning player on a harp, and it shall come to pass, a man who is a cunning player on a harp. So Saul goes ahead and gives the okay. Provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Now, one of the servants answered and said, Behold, I've seen a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. So Saul sends messengers unto Jesse and says, Send to me David thy son, which is with the sheep. Debbie says accountability goes in a person's capability of knowledge of right and wrong, and everyone is different on that thing. You're right, Debbie. What we call the age of accountability is different for each and every person. And we'll speak to that a little bit. The Bible doesn't even give you a definite age as to the age of accountability. However, the question, Darlene, since you didn't hear it clearly, was: Does the Bible say anything about what age a child must be before they're considered to be a man or a woman? I can go to you from outside the Bible and the culture. However, the question stems from the Bible. So let's look at it from the Bible perspective. And what we have, since David is the example talked about being called a boy, yet God called him a man, he's not, that I have been able to find, has not been called a boy. There needs to be a great discernment here. Now, I might be wrong. It's been known to happen before. But here's what we got. We have David here playing with playing the harp with Saul. He's known as a man. He's mighty and valiant, and a man of war, and prudent in manners, and comely. Okay? This is right after Saul, or rather, right after Samuel has anointed him. We have 16 verse 14. Might be one. Let me see. Hey, stop that. I typed too fast for my search bar. I just did a search for the boy David. That's the exact phrase, but we'll see if we'll search for any of them. There are no scriptures, at least in the King James, where it lists boy and David together. Now, what we do have is the youngest son of Jesse was the keeper of the sheep. He's not called a boy. He's not called a lad. What he is called, however, in dealing with the Philistines, because remember what we just read here of the where did we read that? Okay, let's get past Goliath here. Okay, there it is, verse 12. David was the son of that Ephrathite, and he has returned from being with Jesse, or Saul, rather. He went home. Saul sent him home. And his 3 elder brothers went to battle. David returned from Saul, from playing the harp for him, went home to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem, because his 3 brothers now were at war. All right, so now in 17, Jesse says to his son, take now for thy brethren this food, and look at how they're doing, and bring me their report. They're pledged that they're doing good. And so David goes, and he goes to fight. Now he leaves his stuff, his carriage, what he's been carrying, his burden, in the hand of the keeper of the burdens, and runs into the army, comes and saluted his brethren. And as he talks with them, behold, there comes a champion. David hears the words. All Israel fled from him. They ran away from him. And of course, they tell David, and they're speaking about how great the king's going to reward anyone who goes and takes care of this Goliath. Remember, he's a man. Now, what do we see as we come down here to verse 42? David's put off his armor, the armor of the armor bearer Saul armed David with his armor, and he had put on a helmet of brass upon his head, and he armed him with a coat of mail. David girded all this, girded the sword on. He put all this armor on, and he started to go, but he decided against all the armor. He says because he hasn't proved it. He hasn't fought with it. He doesn't know its ins and outs. He doesn't know this. Debbie says, okay, everyone, I'd love to stay longer, but I need to work tomorrow. God bless and love you. You too, sister. You have a wonderful evening. And get some good rest, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Take care. David has not ever worn Saul's armor in battle. No, not yet. Unless there's something else going on, CJ. I don't know. Is that a link? If it's just a comment, don't worry about it. As long as it's not bad. David says to him, I can't go with these. I haven't proved them. I haven't fought with them. This is your armor, not my armor, in other words. So he takes them off. What did he take? He takes his staff, 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and puts them in the shepherd's bag, which he had, and his sling, which was in his hand, and he went to the Philistine. Philistine comes out, draws near to David, and a man that bears a shield went before him. When the Philistine looked about, verse 42, and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy and a fair countenance. Youth is not saying the same thing as he was a boy, rather that he was young. To me, O'Shea is young. He's 18. Well, 17. CJ's young. He's 18. Sean is even young to me. And he's only a few years, well, maybe more than a few, but he's a few years younger than me. So I could literally say that Sean is a youth. And I'm sure there are others in this chat here that would call me a youth, even though I'm 44 years old. So the Bible doesn't say youth in reference to a baby. It doesn't say youth as in reference to a boy or a girl. It just simply is that one is young of age. And that could be anywhere between birth to anyone younger than a 99-year-old, let's say. O'Shea didn't know he got a promotion of a year. He would have been older, but he was sick a year, so he's only 17. So we have David, who is, by the Bible account, a man. But he's a youth. He's a young man. He's still a man of war, but he's a young man. We don't know the age of Timothy. He was young, but he was a man. Reba's got a good point there. Joseph was 17 years old, and he was allowed to go forth on his own, leave his father, and travel a good distance between Shechem and Dothan, and even further to find out what his brothers were up to. And he was 17 years old. So there's no definite decision as to what age a person is considered a man or a woman from the Bible perspective. However, knowing that David was considered a man of war when he went before Saul to play on the harp, and the Philistine had not yet, his encounter with the Philistine had not yet occurred. What does that lead us to understand? And to get to this point, I would like to draw your attention to Numbers chapter 1. CJ's doing something really over there that I'm really curious to see what he's doing. Because is he typing a comment, or is he not paying attention? Pay attention, young whippersnapper. I'm going to have to take Marshall Dillon and school him. Now he's typing a comment. Okay, CJ. He's got something for me. He's got that half smile on his face. Oh. Lutheran. All right. Let it be for just a little bit. Cool your Lutheran jets. And I do protest your engagement and elsewhere while you're listening. Let's go to Numbers chapter 1. Read with me, if you will, what the Bible talks about. Sean, you still here? You taking notes? Teresa? I got Reba here. I got Darlene, I'm sure. She was last. She was here, Reba, and yep, O'Shea. Even if CJ isn't paying attention. Or rather, only half with half an ear. And oops, they're going to the keyboard again. Let's read. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tabernacle of the congregation on the first day of the 2nd month, in the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt. Do I have that up? Yes, I do. Good. Okay. I understand. Especially when they're casting aspersions and lies at you, right at you. On the first day of the 2nd month in the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, this is what Moses is being told by the Lord. No. He keeps hitting the keyboard with his head, Reba. He's going to break it. It's a wonder it hasn't been broken yet. It's a wonder he doesn't have QWERTY planted right on the top of his forehead. Okay, so here's what the Lord is speaking unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation, the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls, by their list. All right? That might be a meme soon if I'm not careful. It might be. Here's the thing. You are to number every male of every house of Israel in a list, and you begin that list from 20 years old and upward. All that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one of the head of his house of his fathers. And these, O'Shea, and these are the names of the men that shall stand with you. And he goes through and he lists all these men. Now, they're beginning their men of war at the age of 20. What does that mean then? If these are men, if the men of war are to be listed from the age of 20 and upward, how old was a man of war under King Saul? Logically, how old would he be? How old would he have to be in order to be able to be considered a man of war under King Saul? Over 20. Sean's going to go lay down. His mouth is hurting him really bad, and he has a major headache on top of it. Boy, do I know how that feels. All right, brother, you finish listening, or you can listen, and you can just let me know what you have, if you've come to an understanding, or if I've explained it well, I should say, tomorrow then. Teresa says 13. I'm not sure where we get 13 from. Okay. The first day of the second month, they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls. As the Lord commanded Moses, so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. So what we have then is in order to be considered a man of war, he had to be at least 20 years old. That's the minimum. That's the bottom line. God said, those that are able to go to war must be at least 20 years old. That would make David at least 20 years old when he stood before Saul playing the harp. So, cross-reference here, Sister Teresa. Numbers chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. With 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 42. We'll go through this one more time just to make sure I've got it all clear. So we have 1 Samuel. Actually, let's do 1 Samuel 16 first. 1 Samuel 16, verse 16, I think is where it is. Go get it. Numbers chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, Teresa. What I did here in 1 Samuel 16:16, what we have is Saul's servant saying, "Let us go find a man who is cunning player on an harp, and it shall come to pass when the evil spirit come upon you, he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well." So he must be a man. Saul says, "Go ahead, provide me this man." And the servant said, look at what he says in verse 18. Then answered one of the servants and said, "Behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him." He's a man. He's a mighty valiant man. He's a man of war. He's a prudent man. He's a comely person. Okay. So by that definition, was David a boy? CJ's shaking his head very violently. It's going to pop off one of these days. And we're going to have a headless CJ. Which I guess then the keyboard's going to breathe a sigh of relief. But so we have 1 Samuel chapter 16, verses 16 through 18. Let's do 15 through 18. 14 through 18. Go back over there to Numbers 1, verse 3. Okay, there we go. 14 through 18. Okay. So that's that one there. Now, what we see is in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And And we're going to go to verse 42. We'll back up. We'll go back up to 12. Begin in verse 12 first. Where's David at? David's at home. So he's not. This is after he had been playing for Saul, and he has left Saul and went back home. You forgot the U in Samuel, by the way. Thank you. 12 and then verse 42. Man, you're on top of things. Thank you, CJ. Love it when you pay attention. There went the keyboard. Okay. What did the Philistine see? A young man. Youth simply is reference to that he's not as old as the person looking up on him. Okay. Young man. So he disdained him, for he was but a youth. He was a man of war, but he was young. Darlene says something's happening with her eyelids. They're starting to close. Darlene, wake up. We forget to keep saying that. Good night. I'm writing these cross references in so we can, if we ever have to do this again, if I ever have this question come up, I can easily look them up. There we go. Boom. Oops, that's the one I wanted. And 42. There we go. So, night, night. Sleep tight. Sweet dreams. Love you. Peaceful rest. God bless. You gonna say goodnight?
Good night, everyone. God bless.
O'Shea says we need a video clip that goes, "Wake up, y'all!" CJ can be. You have a good night, Darlene. Love you, sister. Take care. So, see, Sean, if you're watching, and if not, if you watch the replay of this, I hope this helps. The Bible doesn't actually specify what age a person becomes a man or a woman. Now, again, I could go into the culture wherein a man, in the Hebrew culture, a boy or a girl has their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, at which point in time they are legally in the Jewish society considered a boy or a man or a woman, and are of legal marrying age, and that is roughly about the year 13. So they're about 13 years of age. But that doesn't that does not have a basis in Scripture. That is something that has grown up in culture around that. So I hope that helps. And as a teaser, the next question we have is a thought one for you to think upon. We're not going to get into it tonight. Make sure you join CJ tomorrow for his First John study on his community meeting, community Bible study at 3 o'clock p.m. Here on CEM. The question is, if people were baptized under John the Baptist before Jesus died on the cross, does that mean they would have to get rebaptized once Jesus died? Jesus, John the Baptist, the thief on the cross, and people in that time were living under the Old Testament before the New Testament was established, and the New Testament would not have been established until Jesus' death. So we will get into that one next week. So I've got enough material for about another probably 7 or 8 weeks. Acts 19, 1 through 5. Well, that might be, that's going to be part of the answer, but we're not going to get too deep into that right yet. Gotta wait. Don't go giving all of our ammo. Come on, man. Slap you and call you silly. He just slapped himself and called himself silly. All right. So it is our hope and our prayer and our aim that you have been edified tonight to walk with the King. And to that end, whether we see you tomorrow here on this earth, whether we wake tomorrow here on this earth to serve God here, or we wake tomorrow up there to serve him up there, you know where I'll be. You know where CJ will be, because we'll see you then. God bless.